I'm in the home I grew up in outside Harvey Station, New Brunswick. It's older than Canada. I'm not sure exactly how old it is, but it's a really old farm on over 100 acres. And that's where I grew up riding horses.
Yeah, thanks for doing this. I just wanted to take some time to kind of look back. Not that you're done, but look back a little on your career. And I was thinking to myself, it might be kind of weird for you to be doing these types of interviews now. You know, you're at the stage now where you're going to be doing a lot of these. I'm sure you've done some already, but what's it like to be in this stage of your career where you're looking back at what you've done?
Yeah, it still feels soon because I'm so fresh off of racing and I still have one more race left of this season. So I kind of feel like I've had these all sorts of like mini leaving parties. And then I still don't have that like definite step of what's next. I think there has been some just wondering of like, oh, should I really step away? But then also some, it is time. So I think it's a good point. And also at the end of a season, it's kind of nice to know that I don't have to take a short break and then gear up for next year. I can take more of a transition, especially with, my whole family's been on the road all season with me this year, just because of the year it was and having a baby. And so kind of looking forward to getting home and just being able to settle into home life. I
think you were 15th in your last World Cup.
Yes, I was. Yeah, in the short track and cross country.
And that was your best result of the season. Was there any part of you that's like, man, I worked so hard, I gave birth, and look at my results got better at the end of the season. Like maybe I could just go another year here. Yeah,
I mean, you do have that, and because I, finishing the season being Canada's top points earner, and so there is a bit of that, but then at the same time, sorry, my mom has canaries and they're getting loud.
I couldn't hear them, but that's great. Oh, there they are.
Yeah. But there is that, but I think that's the thing with what we do is like, there's always one more race. There's always what you could do. And so I think at some point you just have to make a decision, and the idea of being on the other side and being able to support other people to get where I am, that's what excites me now.
After your last World Cup or after your last World Championship, or even more recently after the National Championship, where you had those kind of emotional outpourings, realizing that part of your career is over?
I mean, I hadn't really until nationals, and then right before we go into the start box for a race, my mom's like, oh, look at the tribute they did to you. And I went over and they had made this big collage, and then I just started like opening up tears. I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't realize I was that emotional. And then I'm like, okay, go away from this. You can't be upset before you race. They did a really nice send off for me at the nationals and said some really nice things, and it's really nice to leave the sport at a racing level knowing that you did have a really positive impact on the sport. And that can become emotional, and just the strength of the relationships and the experiences that I've had on the circuit. I don't feel sad because I guess I don't feel like I'm really leaving it behind, and it just maybe coming at it from a different angle.
Right. So let's deal with the resume so far, and we can't read it all because we'd be here for a long time, but we'll pick some of the highlights. Olympic bronze medalist, 4-time Olympian, 2-time world champ, 3-time World Cup Series champ, 8 national titles, I think, 6 cross country and 2 cyclocross.
Yep. Yeah.
Good. Commonwealth Games gold medalist, Pan Am Games gold and silver. We'll stop there. You hear all that. What do you think?
That sounds pretty good. Yeah. That is why it's easy to step away, because I have achieved a lot. And in all honesty, I know that to achieve at that level, it takes 100% focus, 100% commitment. And I can feel, I think the best description somebody gave me is that deeper into your career is like you've had these racehorse blinders on, and then they keep getting wider and wider and wider as you kind of near the end of your career. And I feel that, and it's harder to go all in with the same passion that I had at the beginning. And that's what it takes to be the best. And so, that's why it feels easy to step away. It did mean leaving my family for a lot of the year too, to do the series that I've been doing. So yeah, that's tough. And not just when you're away from home because of racing, but my job is 7 days a week. There's not weekends off. So that can be hard too, right? And it's nice to have things where it's maybe not tilted so much around my career in the future.
I guess the downside of that, from my perspective, is you don't get to go to all these cool places all the time. Like you're not traveling around Europe, or has that just kind of that's worn off on you? Like you've done it so much that's almost you're ready to get past going to all these different places.
Yeah, I do really enjoy the travel, and that is definitely an exciting part of what I do, and I hope that I will continue to travel in the future and have that. But yeah, it will be different for sure. When I do travel for racing, I'm seeing lots of cool places, but I'm also there to work.
Right.
So it's not like I'm being a tourist in these places. It's often you're riding around the forest and then you're hanging out in your hotel.
More the competitive side that you're gonna more the competitive side that you'll really miss.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I really love the community. It's such a great group of people, and but there are ways to be involved in that even if you're not racing. So yeah, I think if I find that part is something that I really miss, then there are ways to make sure that I am involved. Dan Prue is the national team coach, so he has coached me a lot in my career. More recently, I've been working with my husband, who's also coaches a big portion of the national team. Yeah, that's been really, really critical this year, just with going through pregnancy and having a baby and just having this whole new learning opportunity, and somebody that really had to see up front, like what the fatigue levels were like, what the lifestyle demands are, and just how to make that balance.
One of your coaches is your husband, and how important, they probably don't get enough credit. I mean, how important they've been to you throughout your whole career.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think having what I do is pretty high stress, and it's also can be a very emotional job. And as an athlete, you can get really caught up in how a particular race went or how a particular training session went. So having those people that are able to see the bigger picture and just keep you guided on a nice progression, so that you're getting the recovery you need, you're getting the training stress you need, and separating that a little bit from the emotion of particular days or events is really key. Also, having support through injuries over my career, and really just having people to help you keep perspective has been absolutely critical. And then this year to a whole new level with having a baby, it's like not only needing a coach, but needing that parenting role is very full on for both of us.
Is there one standout moment in your career that you consider to be, as far as racing, the highlight of your career?
I'd say like the Olympic medal is definitely huge up there. That medal came at a point where I wasn't at the peak of my career. The 2012 Olympics was when I was at the peak of my career, but didn't get it done on that day. So, you had that huge disappointment and loss of confidence from that event. And then to come back 4 years later and to be able to actually achieve it. And especially in the circumstances of that race were pretty crazy from start to finish. So that was definitely a huge accomplishment.
And was there a low moment for sure that you can say that's where I was lowest?
Yeah, definitely. That would be 2012 Olympics. The Olympics have this way of, even though our world championships happen every year and they're just as competitive, the additional attention and media focus and lead up with an Olympics just puts so much more pressure on athletes that it's, you feel it more, and you're definitely way more emotionally invested and emotionally exhausted afterwards. Definitely London, I went into that as one of the most one of two most consistent and high performing athletes in the previous 2 to 3 years. And then I finished 9th. It was definitely far below expectations. And so to rebound from that and then to come back and then have a successful Olympics was really important for me.
How did you kind of react to that, to all the media?
Like throughout my carear?
Yeah, I guess, sure. Yeah. Did you,
Yeah, I mean,
in general, did you enjoy dealing with the media, or is it more of an
yeah, for the most part, the media is positive because it's what enables us to do our careers professionally, right? It's you guys are the ones that bring our stories to the public. The thing that can be challenging in mountain biking is that you have these sports that are more on the fringe. We're not the NHL, we're not baseball, we're not basketball. And so you come into an Olympic scenario, and then all of a sudden you have this additional pressure from outside the cycling world. And so that can be intense a little bit. I guess the thing that I struggle with media is how sometimes they put their own interpretation on a performance rather than the actual performance. So when I finished fourth in Beijing, my first Olympics, it was heartbreak and disappointment for Pendrel. And it's like, I was ecstatic. I did not go in there thinking that I would be fighting for a bronze medal. And I came 9 seconds from getting a medal. And it's like, to me, that was this like amazing moment that just set my career in motion. But if you read the newspaper headlines, it would be a disappointment. And I think that's the hardest thing about the Olympics is because it is so medal focused, and athletes see that, and then you keep reading it and you start to only value first, second, or third as well. There's only 3 of those in every event, right? And in mountain biking, we only have 1 event to get it. So you can be left, you could have this amazing race and finish fourth and still feel like you failed. Whereas putting more value on performance, and I know it's hard because it can sound like very soft or whatever, but yeah, I would like to see more value on performance rather than just a result.
I want to ask you about your outlook in life and how it's changed since your big new addition in January.
Yeah, having a baby has been a huge change in lifestyle, but it's definitely come at a really nice time, where I'm very happy with my career and ready to take that next step, but also get to leave the sport on my own terms. I did come back after having a baby and get to see what that's like, and to go through that experience, and get to share it with her. And I think there's going to be so many neat pictures and memories that we get to share with her when she's older. But yeah, it and also just the balance of in high performance sport, often your training has to come first, and that's definitely hard when you have a baby. Training does come second, but figuring out that you can balance that, and just how to balance it, and how to find your best performance and also be a good parent. And yeah, just going through that learning process and what that looks like. And it really, I guess, helps you boil down what are the essential ingredients of performance in your sport, and focusing on like the biggest priorities, and sometimes the little itty bitty details, the 1% that do make a difference, but can you get that bulk of performance and then work on things little by little, I guess.
How cool is it to see the reactions from a lot of mothers out there? I know even in Kamloops, the comments on the stories, that when we would talk and you would have these quotes about how it's possible to do both, to train and be high performance and be a mother. And I noticed a lot of feedback from people saying, wow, that's a great message. I mean, did that resonate with you, how much feedback there was?
Yeah, absolutely. It is really cool to see just how supportive people are, and how many women are looking to see that is possible. Also that it's really hard, and unless you have the right support, it's and like all the many variables that happen when you have a child. But yeah, just how many women were looking for that inspiration, both women that are moms and dads. I've heard from a lot of dads, as well as women, my competitors, that they're doing this and they're wondering if a family can be a part of their lifestyle, if they have to retire, if they want a family, and just seeing one model, one example of how it can be successful.
Cool. You have talked a little bit about plans what do you know for sure about what you're going to be doing as far as biking and
For
racing?
sure, I know I'm gonna be a mom. The rest of it, I don't know. Yeah, it is interesting because my husband will be going back to work, and then so if I'm adding a new full-time job plus baby plus still wanting to stay as fit as I can, to that, it definitely, we have to figure out as a family how we're going to make all that work and what it's going to look like. But yeah, currently I'm looking at some options that would keep me in the sport as an ambassador and still competing at a different level, doing more event-based work, and also things that are not being a racer at all, and but still being involved in the sport and in the industry. So you will see me staying in cycling next year, but just in a different capacity.
Right, because I don't know if Pendrel racing is still a thing, or if you still have, under your stable of riders that you are kind of influencing. And I know, well, Jenn, why don't we talk about maybe that, and also Jenn, how often did you train with her over since she moved here in 2020?
Yeah, so the very early in the pandemic, Jenn was looking for a change, and so my husband coaches her. So she actually moved to Kamloops, moved into our house. She messaged me one day. She's like, if I got a job in Kamloops, could I live in your basement? And we're like, absolutely. So within a week, she was driving across the country and then moved in with us. So yeah, over that time, we've trained together quite a bit. I mean, a lot more if I hadn't gotten pregnant. That definitely changed things. But even with her not living with us, she's still our family. So she comes over for family dinner once or twice a week, and trains with us around work schedules and things like that. So, and even when we were in Europe this summer, we based together, we got a house in France together, and then we lived and trained together there and prepared for the different races. So yeah, Jenn's definitely been a big feature in our lives the last 2 years. And we call her one of Dara's aunties.
I saw the photo of you and her embracing at the finish line there at the national championships. What was that moment like?
That was without me winning, it was best case scenario kind of to see Jenn win. I know, for a lot of us, we had really targeted World Cups this season, and for Jenn, winning nationals was this huge goal and something that she really, really, really just had such deep desire to win. And I know she was feeling really exhausted coming into the end of season, pretty ready to call it quits, and then just kind of like took a little recovery and then made that race happen. She just did everything right on the day, and she rode to her potential. It's kind of the ride that we expected that we would see from her this year. And it just, it's harder to bring it out in a World Cup environment because there's just so many more factors, things going on. But just when she was given the opportunity to see the front of the race and just put her plan into action, it worked out. So it's a pretty amazing finish to the season.
And it felt kind of like a passing of the torch moment to you. And from what I saw you wrote, it was kind of like, it almost makes it easier for you to leave.
No, definitely. Like if I was, because Canada hasn't had the performance in mountain bike the last 2 seasons. And so it would feel, I would feel like I was leaving a bit of a void if I stepped away and we didn't have people ready to move up into kind of those top 20 positions. But I think we do. I think North America and mountain biking, we did suffer more from the pandemic than the European nations because we were out of racing a lot longer. We did have really unique travel demands where basically we had to compete this year. We had to move to Europe for a summer. So we're in completely new environment, different training grounds, different stresses being away from home. And significantly less races in the past 2 years because in Europe they started racing like in July of last year. So this was definitely a catch-up year for us. And I think by national championships, just from the U17 category all the way up to elite, new riders did start rising to the top. And I think it just took us a full season to get to that point. And but now I think we are set up that we can have some good performances next year.
Do you plan to live in Kamloops still? I mean, longer term?
Yeah. I mean, my husband's really happy with his job teaching in
Where does he
Kamloops,
teach?
and he's at Valley View Secondary.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And it's been a really good supportive community for us. We're when you choose a place to live is more about what it offers for you as a family and long term, not just immediate training goals. So yeah, we have no plans to change that in the immediate.
Equality in women's mountain biking. Now, we don't have an hour. We could go an hour, I'm sure, on this, but you and I kind of texted real quick, I don't know, maybe years ago at this point, that I just totally forgot to contact you for a story. But I was interested to know about payment and anything else that you can share on equality in women's mountain biking compared to men's mountain biking. Is it equal?
Yeah, so there's a lot of things that are equal. We race for the same duration. We're not really given any priority, and the women typically race before the men, but I don't think that that's necessarily prioritizing for coverage. We get equal coverage on Red Bull TV. So there's a lot of things that are equal. We race the same course. The things that are more unknowns in our sport is there's very little discussion of salaries. So I actually have no clue what other women make, let alone what the men make in comparison to the women. So I think there are pretty equal job opportunities for men and women. I'm not sure about the salary. My presumption is that men do earn higher salaries for comparable results than women do, but I can't confirm that with numbers. So I think we do. I think one of the real things that we're need to focus on doing now is just equal reflections of males and females in our media. So often in the past, you would go to a race and all the posters would have the top male racers on them rather than having a male and a female or just a female. And I've definitely seen more of that. But yeah, even in our publications, just trying to get more even coverage of men and women. And you're seeing, cycling encompasses a lot of different disciplines. And I think of the disciplines, mountain bike has much more equality than road, where prize money can be hugely discrepant in cyclocross. But it is often coming from the athletes to drive the change, where in kind of the free ride scene, Casey Brown from Revelstoke has really been behind getting opportunities like Red Bull formation and jump competitions and some of these more extreme competitions for women that typically were only available to men. And you're having female athlete reps that are behind the drive to get equal prize money and different things like that. So things are coming, but and in mountain bike as a cycling discipline, we're ahead of most of the others. But yes, definitely there's always some work to be done.
Right. Do you suspect if there was some more information sharing about specific numbers of what men and women are making, that it might be alarming?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I suspect that, but I don't know.
Fair enough. Okay. And what age is Dara riding already, or when does she get on a bike?
Yeah, we're still learning all the stages right now. She's into pulling herself up on furniture, so I'm sure pulling herself over a bike won't be too far away.
Okay. Anything else you wanted to add?
I think that's everything. Yeah.
Okay. And you just had the Arkansas. Is it Arkansas? You have a race in?
Yeah, I've got a epic ride event there. So there's like a 20-minute crit on the Friday night and then a 4-hour event on Sunday.
Okay. Well, thanks to you and to the Canaries for chiming in.
Yeah, thanks.